In this demonstration you learn how to use the MAOPS Metro message dialog instead of the classic message box in the Friend Organizer application. Let's switch to Visual Studio. Before we use the MAOPS message dialog, let's run the application and let's look at the classic message box. When I open up a friend that is part of a meeting and I try to delete that friend, I get a message box with an OK button. When I try to delete a friend that is not part of a meeting, I get a message box with an OK cancel button. So these are the two message boxes we have in our application. As you can see, the design of the message box does not match the design of our application. You can create your own custom dialog, or you can use the message dialog that comes with MAOPS Metro. Now let's stop the application and let's use the message dialog that comes with MAOPS Metro. We display the message boxes in this message dialog service class. So here you can see the message boxes used. Now let's just use the MAOPS message dialog. I press Ctrl- to add a using directive for MAOPS Metro controls dialogs. Now this message dialog is underlined, and when I hover it, I can see an internal control that represents a message dialog. Please use Metro window show message instead. This means we shouldn't use this class directly, we should use the Metro window. As you know, at the beginning of this module, we changed our main window to be a Metro window. So here we have the Metro window, and now we need to access it from our message dialog service. So let's create a Metro window variable here, and now we need to grab the Metro window of our application. To do this, we can use the static current property of our app class. This returns the current app instance. The app instance has a main window property that will contain our main window, which is our Metro window. This means I can just cast this into a Metro window. I press Ctrl- to add a using directive for MAOPS Metro controls. Now this Metro window has a show message async method. As you can see, it takes a title, a message dialog style, and also optional settings. I pass in the title parameter of our show OK cancel dialog method. I pass in the text parameter as a message, and as a message dialog style, we have affirmative, which is just an OK button, and we have affirmative and negative, which is OK and cancel, exactly what we want. Now I remove this message box call, and I store the result here also in a result variable. The result variable is of course not of type message box result. But hey, what is it actually? When I hover it, you can see it's a task of message dialog result. But hey, this is an asynchronous method, so we should await it. And when we want to await it, we need to change our method also to an async method that returns a task of message dialog result. And we rename it to show OK cancel dialog async. Now let's remove this message box result here, and you can see now we get a message dialog result. And we can just say affirmative, which means the OK button was clicked. I can't remove this namespace here, as the message dialog result enumeration of the MAOPS Metro library has exactly the same name as the message dialog result enumeration that we have created for this message dialog service. Now we are done with this show OK cancel dialog async method. Let's also change the show info dialog method. So here we need the Metro window again. So it might be a good idea to put this into a property. So I just cut this here, and I create here a private property of type Metro window. I call it Metro window. And I create a getter that returns the Metro window instance by pasting the code that I have just cutted before. If you are familiar with expression-bodied members, you know that we can shorten this by just using this expression. Now inside our show OK cancel dialog method, I can just use the Metro window property here. The same is true in our show info dialog method. Here I just use the Metro window property and I call the show message async method. As a title, I pass in info, and as a message, just the text that we have received. I also await this method, so I return a task here, and I change the method to async, and I also adjust the name to async. Now we are done with the message dialog service. But we have changed all the method names and the signatures, so let's adjust the iMessage dialog service interface. The show OK cancel dialog method has now this async suffix, and the same is true for the show info dialog method. Let's also change the return types to task of message dialog result and here to just task. I pressed Ctrl- to add a using directive for system threading tasks. Now let's try to build the solution. Of course, the build failed. Let's look at the error list. iMessage dialog service does not contain a definition for show OK cancel dialog. Yes, that's true. Now we need to replace all these method calls with our new async method. So here I use our new show OK cancel dialog async method, I await it, and I make this onCloseDetailViewExecute method async as well. Let's go to the error list, let's click on another error, show info dialog, async, I also await this here, show OK cancel dialog, also async, and I await this here. Now let's look again into the error list, and we have 6 errors left. Fixing these errors is always the same. Use the new async method and await it. But as we are in a video, let's take the advantage and let's do this a bit faster than usual. Now all the errors have been fixed, but when I look into the error list, I can see one warning. Because this call is not awaited, execution of the current method continues before the call is completed. Consider applying the await operator to the result of the call. Let's see what this is. In the onDeleteExecute method, we actually forgot to await the save async call on this meeting repository instance. So let's add the await keyword here and the warning will be gone. Now let's run the application and let's see what our new message dialog looks like. I click on Thomas Huber and I try to delete this friend. Now you see the MAAPS message dialog. Thomas Huber can't be deleted as this friend is part of at least one meeting. Okay, now let's open up Sarah Huber and let's click delete. And now we see this question, do you really want to delete the friend Sarah Huber? I click cancel, the friend stays open. Let's click delete again, I click OK, and now the friend is deleted. So now we actually replaced the classic message box with the MAAPS Metro message dialog. Now let's look at the final friend organizer application and its features before we wrap up what you have learned in this course. Now we are done with the friend organizer application in this course. Before we wrap up what you have learned in this course, let's take a look at the final friend organizer application. Here I've opened the final friend organizer application. But to enjoy the design that we have built, let's get rid of the UI debugging tools. I just click on Go to Live Visual Tree that will bring up Visual Studio. Now I go to Tools Options, and here I scroll down to Debugging on the left, I expand this and I select General. When I scroll down, you can see Enable UI Debugging Tools for SAML. I uncheck this and I click OK. Now I minimize Visual Studio again, the debugging tools are still there, but as soon as I click on them, they will disappear. Now when I start debugging the application again, the tools won't show up anymore. Of course, if you start the application without debugging, the tools will never be visible. Okay, so far to the SAML UI debugging tools, but originally we wanted to look at the friend organizer application. In the friend organizer application, we can edit friends and we can also edit meetings. We can also create new friends and meetings, and we can also delete existing friends and meetings. We have a built-in validation that displays validation errors to the user by using data annotations with iNotify data error info. We have also built this nice tabbed user interface. Beside friends and meetings, a user can also edit programming languages. For example, I can call this C#. We have also used Prism's event aggregator to communicate between the different detail view models. So when I save this, I can go back to a friend, and here I can see the C# language written in the way like I have saved it from the Programming Languages tab. On the meeting screen, we have also implemented the many-to-many relationship between meetings and friends. As you can see, Thomas Huber is part of this meeting, so when I try to delete him, I get a message Thomas Huber can't be deleted as this friend is part of at least one meeting. So we check these references and we only allow to delete a friend when he is not part of a meeting. An interesting implementation detail of this application is that we are using a single entity framework DB context per detail view model. So this screen, for example, has a single entity framework DB context. The DB context will know what has changed, and so we can save these changes back to the database. As soon as the user changes something on the screen, for example they enter my second name, the save button gets active and they can save the changes back to the database. And you can see by using Prism's event aggregator we also refresh the friend in the navigation. So that's the application, and with the concepts you have seen here, you should be able to include many different entities into your application. Now let's wrap up what you have learned in this course. Congratulations! You have finished this course and you know how to build an enterprise app with WPF, MVVM and Entity Framework Code first. You learned in this course how to create a database with Entity Framework Code first, you have set up your WPF application with MVVM, you have implemented communication between view models with Prism's event aggregator, you know how to validate user input with data annotations and iNotify data error info, you know how to use AutoFac for dependency injection, and you learned how to use the MAAPS Metro UI toolkit to style the Friend Organizer application. So now what's next for you? In this course, we haven't written a single unit test, but a big advantage of MVVM is that you can unit test your view models. So if you want to learn about unit testing your view models, you can watch my course WPF and MVVM Test-Driven Development of View Models on Pluralsight. This course will teach you everything you need to test the view models of the Friend Organizer application. Then there is another course that is called WPF and MVVM Advanced Model Treatment. In the Friend Organizer UI project, we have created wrapper classes for our models. We have used these wrapper classes to implement iNotify property changed and to implement the validation with iNotify data error info and data annotations. Beside the iNotify property changed interface and the data validation, you can also do change tracking in such a model wrapper. You can track all the changes made to a property. This allows you to display changed fields in your application with a different color and to display the original value of such a changed field in the tooltip. You learn how to do this in the course WPF and MVVM Advanced Model Treatment. This course also shows you how to generate the model wrappers in Visual Studio by using T4 templates. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this course. My name is Thomas Claudius Huber. Thanks a lot for watching.